Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
People that are fat and don't realize you're fat, I'm gonna give you a few pointers to let you know you're fat. If you have to put your belt in your pants before you put them on, you're pretty much a fat person. If you take a shower and sweating at the same time, if you're like, oh my God, it's hot in here. Look at the fat people, that ain't funny. Yes, it is. And people always say stupid stuff when you're losing weight. You need to watch your food. I look at all my food, don't you? You need to watch what you eat. You ever watch what you eat? I look at all my food. I'm looking straight at it, really. But seriously, I have been working out, and I have lost 141 pounds. People are like, don't you feel good? No, I'm hungry right now. You ever have somebody give you some food, like 10 chicken wings, you're like, who this for, the baby? You better give me 50 and keep them cooking, really.
Good morning. It's Friday, Parenting Friday, September the 5th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and the collapse of parenting. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now, Varney and Company.
Good morning, Stuart.
Hey, good morning, Cheryl. And good morning, everyone. Let's get right to it. The jobs numbers are out. The markets and the Fed are watching and passing judgment, of course. In August, only 22,000 jobs were added to the economy. That is much lower than expected. We're going to try to figure out if tariffs and or AI affects those numbers. Now, in previous months, big downward revisions had roiled the markets. And remember, the president had removed the chief statistician. This time, the previous 2 months were revised down just 22,000. The unemployment rate came in at 4.3%. Here's the market response to that. It's all green. The Dow Industrials unchanged ever so slightly higher, but the S&P's up 24. The Nasdaq really doing well, up 208 points. Check out Broadcom. They're way up this morning. That's helping the Nasdaq. And look at Tesla. The board has negotiated a new pay deal with Elon Musk. It is full of performance rewards, I should say. It'll be the first $1 trillion pay package if he meets all the benchmark achievements. $1 trillion. Interest rates heading down, and that's good for stocks. This is big news indeed. The yield on the 2-year Treasury coming in at 3.49%. That's a big deal. It's below 3.5%. And look at the 10-year. That's way down as well. We're looking at 4.08 right there. Weakness in the job market pushing interest rates down. Let's see what the Fed does about it. Bitcoin moving up to $113,200 a coin. The price of oil, jobs market slipping a little. You're down to $62 a barrel. Big deal. On the show today, Venezuela's F-16s flew near to U.S. Navy vessels which are looking for drug smugglers. That's a challenge to America's military response to narco-terrorists. Secretary of State Rubio has added 2 more drug gangs to the list of foreign terror groups. He says, we won't kill drug smugglers if their countries cooperate. Japan has signed a trade deal. They have a 15% tariff on their exports to America. They will also provide $550 billion to develop business in America. President Trump has sole discretion over where and how that money is spent. The New York mayoral race goes national. Bernie Sanders bringing his oligarchy tour to New York, and Zoran Mandani will be with him. President Trump is getting involved, trying to narrow the field, trying to get Mayor Adams out of the race. No one has dropped out yet. At this point, it looks like Mandani wins. Is that what moderate Democrats really want? Good question. A huge immigration raid, 450 illegals arrested at the Hyundai battery plant construction site in Georgia. It is not known how many were known violent criminals. And there's a breaking story, and it's from the New York Times. In 2019, SEAL Team 6 members came ashore in North Korea. Their mission was to plant a sophisticated electronic device to listen in to Kim Jong-un as he was negotiating a nuclear deal with President Trump. The mission failed. Busy day. Friday, September 5th, 2025.
And that was Varney and Company. Nonprofit news now. Back in a minute. Okay, now from the account on X called at TonyX2 TWO, and this is a clip of a Chicago resident that stands with President Trump and wants him to send the Marine Corps.
I'm with Trump, and I don't give a damn how any of you motherfuckers feel, because you ain't gonna do shit to me. But any fucking way, he need to bring the motherfucking people out here. He need to bring the motherfucking United States Marine Corps out here. You same motherfuckers talking about Chicago ain't gonna take it. Bitch, Chicago can't even keep his fucking self safe. Y'all can come out here and want to riot about that, but y'all can't come out here and tell y'all fucking kids to stop being stupid and doing dumb fuck ass shit. Y'all can't tell your fucking grandkids to stay his ass in the motherfucking house. You can't tell your son, your niece, your nephew, your fucking sister, brother, cousin to get the fuck out the street. But you gonna sit here and say that they gonna handle these motherfuckers coming in? You're crazy. You're stupider than Brandon. And you same people who are against it are the same ones who voted for Brandon. The same person who don't give a fuck what's going on in his own fucking neighborhood. Are you stupid? Bring the fucking United States Marine Corps in this bitch. Bring them in here and let them handle this shit. Because I see this shit. I live this shit. I'm looking at this shit every fucking day. These kids ain't got no fucking sense. These parents don't care because they on top of cars shaking ass with some motherfucking cut waters every goddamn night. So you don't know what the fuck your children are doing. They're fatherless for one. And even if the father is in their life, the father's a fucking gangbanger.
And there you go. So a Chicago resident that stands with Trump wants him to send the Marine Corps. But the most important part of this is she recognizes the parenting aspect. She doesn't quite know that connect between the sovereign child way of parenting and these problems. She doesn't realize that this is done not by accident, but deliberately. That there's a whole bunch of liberal parents out there that let their kids do whatever they want as a matter of doctrine. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now something from an account on Instagram called GB News.
For the first time, populist parties are topping the polls in all 4 of Europe's largest and most important countries. Labour trails Nigel Farage's Reform UK here in Britain. Marine Le Pen's Rassemblement National has opened up an 18-point gap with French President Emmanuel Macron's party. The Alternative for Germany has soared past the Conservative Merz's party, despite their Prime Minister being in office little more than 100 days. And in Italy, where the populist right are already in power, voters appear happy with the performance of Giorgia Meloni. This bombshell news has been met with a total blackout across the continent's media. Is that because if this surge in support translated into election victories, it would spell the end for the EU as we know it? This May, Reform UK won local elections here. Marine Le Pen found herself barred from running in the next presidential election after her party won the legislatives, which she called a political decision. And the Alternative for Germany was designated an extremist organisation. Leader Alice Weidel was undeterred.
Our legacy media and establishment politicians fear us like no other party, with good reason. More and more voters in Germany are simply fed up with being lied to and watching their quality of life deteriorating year for year.
This rise in support is largely a result of concern about immigration, as Europeans watch on while boat after boat of illegal migrants reach their shores, unimpeded by the authorities. Half of Brits would like to completely end immigration and send back recent arrivals. But concerns are gaining traction that the establishment are curbing our liberties to maintain their power, with fierce convictions like Marine Le Pen's were motivated by all the wrong reasons.
Save our kids! Save our kids!
This broad and sustained support for change among the citizens of Europe's largest, richest and most influential countries shows, however, that Europeans are determined for change. Nick Dunning, GB News.
There you go. A little something from GB News on Instagram. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little bit of motivation.
I choose not to be a common man. It's my right to be uncommon if I can. I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dull by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to live from hand to mouth. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will never cower before any master, nor bend to any threat. It's my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to face the world boldly and say, this I have done. But I didn't stop.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little bit of meditation.
Welcome to this 5-minute quick mindfulness meditation for stress relief. Take a moment to find a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down. Allow your hands to rest gently on your lap or by your side. Now, close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale through your mouth. Feel your body begin to soften with every breath. Bring your awareness to the natural rhythm of your breathing. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle flow of air in and out. Allow yourself to simply be here. Now, gently scan through your body. Relax your forehead, your eyes, your jaw. Release any tension in your shoulders, your arms, your chest. Let your belly soften, your legs relax, all the way down to your toes. Your body is becoming lighter, calmer, at ease. If thoughts arise, notice them with kindness and let them drift away like clouds in the sky. Return gently to the breath, to this moment of calm. Silently repeat to yourself, I am calm. I am safe. I am present. Take one last deep breath in and slowly exhale, releasing all remaining stress. When you're ready, gently wiggle your fingers and toes. Bring awareness back to your surroundings and softly open your eyes. Carry this sense of mindfulness and peace with you into the rest of your day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So I'm listening to one of the boobs on talk radio, and they're talking about how the left, the liberals in this country, are referring to what Israel is doing in response to October 7th as colonialism. And then they're having a debate. They have somebody on, I think it's, I forget his name anyway. So they have a guy on, a guest on. They're talking to him about colonialism and whether or not it's colonialism and on and on and on. And I thought, well, what a bunch of morons. We don't understand. We complain constantly about why it is it seems the left is winning in this country. It's because of idiots like this. It's just that simple. Why are they using the term colonialism? It's awkward. As soon as you hear a word like that, what they're doing is colonialism. Huh? That's awkward. And it's not even close to being correct. If they were in 4 or 5 different countries, right? Colonizing 4 or 5 different countries, Lebanon, Egypt, whatever, then you can make the case. But after what happened on October 7th, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to say that. It's just ridiculous on its face. So why would they say it? Simple. Colonialism is one of their substitute words for right and wrong. Okay? They dare not use the terms right and wrong because the terms right and wrong don't fit in socialist paradise. Okay? So instead of saying right or wrong, they have to find substitute words. They put themselves at a handicap when they deny reality, deny knowledge, and deny morality. They handicap themselves. They find it very, very difficult to communicate. They're hoping that idiots like the talk show hosts that I'm talking about will take the bait and start discussing whether or not this is colonialism. When the real issue is what Israel did right or wrong? We can have a discussion about that. But colonialism, no. It's ridiculous. So remember, when you hear any word like that, that this sticks out, consider the fact that the liberals are trying to use a substitute for good, bad, right, wrong, etc. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now this is from an Instagram account called GB News.
For me, no, I'm not going to wait and see. I'm going to support her already because, frankly, I feel like if we want to see women like Angela Rayner, who have a complicated background, who come from a working-class background, a woman who had her first child when she was a teenager, then we need to be able to forgive her as readily as we forgive men who come from backgrounds where they have access to multiple millions of pounds of resources and support and all of the rest. And people keep on saying, oh, what does it matter if the amount we're talking about is multiple millions of pounds or if it's 40,000 pounds? Well, the average person understands the massive difference that it makes, the very different environment in which a woman like Angela Rayner has to fight to survive and to have a stable family life.
So you forgive her. So you forgive her. Hang on, let's just get this right. So you forgive her because she's from a very working class background, and I acknowledge her backstory is awesome. It's very impressive. But you wouldn't forgive her if she came from a middle class background if she blundered.
I forgive her because so this is not fraud. This is an oversight, right? And this is not a woman who is from an upper middle class background.
Oh, for God's sake!
Millions of pounds in the bank.
Oh, for God's sake! She's got advisors at her disposal. She's the Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Secretary. Her background's got nothing to do with it.
Normal people can see that rich people get better advice and they go and they hide their money away in offshore accounts and they know how to do
She's on £160,000 a year.
Lawyers.
She earns £160,000 a year.
Stella? Millions.
Stella? She earns £160,000 a year. She can afford good advice, Stella.
Stella, do you?
So anyways, we'll stop it right there. This is about a lady named Angela Brown or somebody like that in England that apparently did some kind of cheating. She did underreported her income or something to get a better rate for a house or something like that. It was some kind of scandal and fraudulent. So this woman, why I'm playing this, so you can hear again, this woman doing everything she possibly can not to say that this Angela lady was wrong. Now, she gave away the game when she said we should forgive her or I forgive her. The only time you forgive people is when they've done something wrong. And that's where the people that are conducting the interview, because that's what this was, an interview between GB News and this lady, I don't know who she is. And so that's where they could have said, oh, excuse me, you said forgive. So you acknowledge that what she has done is wrong. And that's your in. And then put her under pressure from there. So again, this is how the lengths to which the left will go because they handicap themselves. They won't allow themselves and each other to say certain things. So when they're trying to communicate to normal people, they have to do it in these very awkward and windy ways. But you can defeat it simply by listening for certain cues, certain words, or in this particular case, the phrase when she said, I will forgive her, opens it up to, oh, so she did something wrong. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now we're going to pick up where we...
Mary Harrington recently coined the term normophobia to describe the growing fear of being normal in our culture, a fear now especially common among young people. She writes, normophobia frames everything conventional, average, given, assumed, traditional, and normative, whether its origin be physiological or cultural, as arbitrarily and coercively constructed to support vested interests, particularly those of white, Christian, heterosexual men. In this new culture, today's online culture, there is almost nothing worse than being white, Christian, and straight. This prejudice is embedded in the terms that social media teaches kids to use. Are you neurotypical or are you neurodivergent? Are you gender conforming or gender non-conforming? Normal now means typical, conforming. And who wants to be typical and conforming? That is so boring. As Matthew Crawford has observed, normophobia equates normal with unimaginative, passive, and lame. Crawford concludes that normophobia incentivizes healthy people to think of themselves as sick. And the danger of thinking of yourself as sick is that it can actually make you sick. As C.S. Lewis wrote 70 years ago, the trouble about trying to make yourself stupider than you really are is that you very often succeed. Substitute more anxious or more depressed for stupider, and you begin to understand what is happening with American kids. The collapse of parenting has set kids adrift in a newly toxic culture in which it's now cool to be anxious and depressed. A culture in which it's totally lame to be normal. Smartphones and social media may exacerbate the problem, but smartphones are perhaps not the root cause of the problem, only the vector. We as parents need to limit the phones and the screens, not primarily because phones and screens are intrinsically evil, but because they are spreading a toxic culture tinged with normophobia. Take-home message. It's not enough just to say no to the world of social media and smartphones. You have to say yes to a healthy culture. You have to offer your child a culture in which it's cool to be healthy and sane, ideally in collaboration with other like-minded families, in opposition to the ambient culture of normophobia and disrespect, in which it's cool to be anxious and depressed. Exposure to inappropriate content. In one study, researchers created social media accounts for fictitious boys and girls 13 to 17 years of age. Within hours, the accounts began receiving unsolicited content from adults. The boys' accounts received unsolicited links to sexually explicit material, enticing them to pornography sites. Within 2 days, all of the boys' accounts had received many similar links. The girls' accounts were likely to receive information on crash diets, self-harm, and suicide. A 17-year-old girl who expressed interest in losing weight received a deluge of links to pages glamorizing anorexia and encouraging radical weight loss. Other unsolicited pages sent to the girls valorized self-harm and suicide. A separate team of researchers conducted a similar study and got similar results. In this more recent study, researchers created TikTok accounts for fictitious 13-year-old girls. Once again, the girls were instantly bombarded with links promoting radical diets, extreme weight loss, and self-harm. Well, not quite instantly, but within 8 minutes. Other researchers find that girls use social media to recruit other girls to lose weight and to share strategies for extreme weight loss. Who wants to join the fast? A recent investigation found that TikTok has actually become more harmful to girls, pushing even more videos encouraging anorexia and self-harm. A spokesperson for TikTok responded that TikTok employs more than 40,000 humans to scan the app for harmful content, removing millions of videos each month. 40,000 people sounds like a lot, until you consider that 34 million new videos are posted on TikTok every day. If 40,000 TikTok employees were to review all the new videos, each employee would have to watch about 850 videos every day. In an 8-hour day, that would require watching almost 2 videos a minute, every minute, nonstop, all day long. And that doesn't allow any time for any consideration of the video just watched or any time to take any action. Given that a TikTok video averages 42 seconds, it's not possible. Clearly, many videos are going on the platform without substantive review by humans. Sextortion. Jordan DeMay was a well-liked student and football player at Marquette High School on Michigan's Upper Peninsula. He received a direct message via Instagram from a girl named Danny Roberts. He had never met her, but the selfies she shared showed a pretty girl, and her messages were funny and friendly. After they had exchanged messages, she asked him for a sexually explicit photo. Researchers find that many American teenage boys will happily share a selfie of their own erect penis if a teenage girl asks for it. So Jordan sent Danny a sexually explicit selfie. That's when Jordan found out that Danny wasn't a teenage girl at all, but a group of 3 young men who had deliberately tricked him. They warned him that they had contact information for many of his friends at school. They sent him photos of his friends with contact information to prove that they had done their homework. They demanded that Jordan pay them $1,000, or they would send the photo to his friends. He paid $300, all he had. They were not satisfied. Jordan pleaded with the men, saying, "I'm going to kill myself right now because of you." They taunted him, daring him to kill himself. Less than 6 hours later, Jordan was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. His parents gave permission to share his story with the world in the hope of preventing similar tragedies. The 3 men have been arrested and are facing charges with maximum penalties of up to 50 years in prison. Jordan's story is an example of the new crime of sextortion. An adult pretending to be a teen contacts a teenager on social media. Some adults are really proficient at pretending to be teenage girls or teenage boys, complete with selfies of the teen they are pretending to be. Once they have lured the target into sharing an explicit photo, the trap is sprung, and the adult demands more photos or money. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received fewer than 10 reports total of sextortion as recently as 2020. In 2023, they received more than 12,000 such reports. Moral confusion. Researchers at UCLA studied the most popular TV shows targeting children and teens from 1967, 1977, 1987, 1997, and 2007. They analyzed the extent to which these shows prioritized 16 different values, such as fame, achievement, serving others, etc. They found tremendous consistency among the most popular TV shows from 1967 to 1997. Whether the show was The Andy Griffith Show in 1967, Happy Days in 1977, Family Ties in 1987, or Buffy the Vampire Slayer in 1997. Serving others was the number one value out of 16 in 1967, the number one value in 1977, the number two value in 1987, and the number one value in 1997. In other words, the most popular shows were teaching kids that the most important thing is to do the right thing, to help your neighbor, to tell the truth. Being famous was the 15th most important value out of 16 in 1967, the 13th most important in 1977, the 15th most important in 1987, and the 15th most important in 1997. But then, between 1997 and 2007, American culture flipped upside down. The most popular TV shows in 2007, shows such as American Idol and iCarly, were shows that prioritized becoming famous as the highest value. Fame rocketed to the number one spot in 2007, these researchers found, while serving others dropped to number 11. Why? What happened between 1997 and 2007 that caused fame to jump from the number 15 spot to the number one spot, while service to others plunged from the top spot down to the number 11 position? The authors conclude that social media was to blame. Social media transformed American culture. Suddenly, the highest priority wasn't serving others or doing the right thing or being a good friend. It was getting likes, getting followers, becoming an influencer. A culture in which the highest priority is serving others is a culture which is fundamentally healthy for children and teenagers. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., everybody can be great because anybody can serve. If service to others is the highest priority, kids have a clear moral compass. They know which way is up and which way is down. As Dr. King said, anybody can serve, so anyone can be successful in their own eyes and in the eyes of the world if the highest priority is service to others, and if the young person can find the moral resolve to serve others. But as social psychologist Haidt observes, social media now trains people to think in ways exactly contrary to the world's religious and spiritual traditions. Think about yourself first. Be materialistic, judgmental, boastful, and petty. Seek glory as quantified by likes and followers. A culture in which the highest priority is to become famous is a culture that is fundamentally toxic to children and teenagers, if only for the simple reason that the overwhelming majority of people who strive to be famous will not succeed, no matter how hard they try. Here's one example. Lorenzo Mitchell was earning a computer science degree at college, but dropped out in hopes of becoming a social media influencer. He gained 52,000 followers on his TikTok account, but he has earned less than $70 total from all his efforts on social media. His most successful video has been viewed nearly 2 million times and earned him about $25. He earns most of his money as a busboy at a local restaurant. Tensor Social, a social media analytics firm, estimates that there are more than 1 million TikTok accounts with more than 52,000 followers. Of those million-plus accounts, fewer than 100 will yield a social media career that can support someone lasting 5 years or more, according to Sarah Peretz, a social media analytics expert. A TikTok video with 100,000 views will earn about $2. More than 50 million people right now are trying to become influencers on social media platforms such as YouTube and TikTok. In one survey, 86% of young Americans said they would like to become social media influencers, and 12% claim that they already are social media influencers. Even the winners are often losers in the new culture of social media. Verity Johnson was 21 years old when she unexpectedly won the position of female anchor on a morning TV show. In a short time, she went from 0 to more than 8,000 followers on her social media platforms. I became convinced that I was so fascinating. It's also the most numbly exhausting job I've ever done. You get trapped in your own triviality, in the mind-numbing packaging and distribution of the minutia of your day. It's a real joy killer. Normally, you take a photo because you want to capture a great moment, right? But as an influencer, you have to manufacture those moments. But the very worst, most dangerous part of Insta-fame in your 20s is that it totally messes up your character development. Not only did it make me self-obsessed, but it indulged my very worst qualities. Staying Insta-famous relies on you mining the depths of your own narcissism. The problem is that in your 20s, you're busy working out who you want to be. A big part of that process is managing and squashing down the dark parts of yourself to make more room for your better parts. But Insta-fame fed my own vanity and insecurity until it became almost impossible to control them and make space for my better self. So she quit. I realized in order to stay Insta-famous, I'd have had to nurture the most pathetic parts of my own psyche. And honestly, no amount of free ombre activewear is worth that. This cultural upheaval, in which becoming famous is now the highest value, has consequences. When sociologists interviewed young people, 34% of their interviewees said that they simply did not know what makes anything morally right or wrong. They had no idea about the basis of morality. Tellingly, many of these stumped interviewees could not even understand our questions on this point. No matter how many different ways we posed them, our very questions about morality's sources did not or could not make sense to them. They've replied to our inquiries by saying things like, I just don't understand. Like, what do you mean? Even among the 66% of young people who were able to say why some things are right and other things are wrong, these researchers found many respondents who said that what other people think was their primary guide to right and wrong. For example, one young man, when asked what was the basis of morality, answered, I want to be looked at as the dude who was a good man, a decent man. The researchers noted that the opinions of others are not a firm foundation for morality. It doesn't take much imagination to recall recent historical eras in which the majority approved of actions or convictions which we now regard as wrong. For example, the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. As recently as 1969, 80% of Americans disapproved of interracial marriage. That figure is now down to 6%. A culture in which fame and the opinion of others are the highest priorities is a culture without a moral compass. The end result of a culture in which most teenagers are on social media is moral confusion for many. Part of your job as a parent is to teach your kid what's right, what's wrong, and why. Your parents didn't have to do that, at least not to the extent that you do, because the popular culture 30 years ago or 50 years ago taught kids that service to others is the highest priority. As we saw, for example, in that UCLA study of popular TV shows, which I just mentioned. In today's culture, a culture that prioritizes being famous above everything else, kids will be adrift if you don't step up and do the heavy lifting of teaching right and wrong. I'm not saying you have to teach the culture of the Andy Griffith Show. I'm saying you have to teach something, whether that is Orthodox Judaism, evangelical Christianity, left-of-center Catholicism, Sunni Islam, enlightened humanism, or any of the dozens of other moral frameworks available. I'm saying it is not reasonable to expect your child to be an Aristotle or St. Paul or Friedrich Nietzsche, working out a new moral system almost entirely on their own. If you don't provide your child with a moral framework, they will look to the society in which they live for guidance. And if they have a device with internet access, they are likely to learn the contemporary culture in which being famous is the ultimate goal.
And that was the next part of Chapter 5, Screens from the Collapse of Parenting. One of the things that I want to note was it's easy to take all this personally because he presents this as an American problem. It's not. It's a liberal problem. Liberal parents raise their children in ways that get them into the kinds of trouble that we hear about in his book. So remember, this is still liberal versus conservative or normal people. Now, he's talking also about the entire country. These studies and it shows that our country's going the wrong direction, but who cares? That leaves me cold. What I want to know is how is this going to affect me culturally? And what I suspect is that there's going to be a lot of younger people that are going to be looking to normal people, the younger people that are anti-normal, that want to be bizarre in various ways, shapes, and forms, but that are going to be looking to normal people for answers to questions that they should have been getting from their parents and from their teachers. I had a friend who had an issue. He wanted to know, it was a personal thing, personal problem, where he had made a decision some years ago, and he asked me, do you think I made the right decision? And I told him yes, and I explained why he had made the right decision. I didn't waffle, I didn't say in my opinion or any of that crap. I said yes, and explained it. He told me that he'd asked all of his other friends the same question, and that I was the only one that could give him a straight answer. Think about it. Back in a minute. Thank you, and this is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that rights are not collective. They are joint and several.